All right, and welcome to Marlins After Dark, because no team keeps you up late at night like the Miami Marlins. I'm your host, Sean Millerick, joined tonight by Grant Kiefer of Fist Stripes fame. We're going to talk a little Marlins-Red Sox, and then get into what really matters in spring training. What should we be putting a lot of stock in right now? Of course, we'll play some of Twitter's hottest game right now, Jeff or Not Jeff, before diving into the next name on our Marlins Top 30 list. Grant, how you doing tonight? And what were your thoughts on tonight's game?
Good tonight. I mean, it's Marlins After Dark, but being in college, this feels like a normal time to me. So I'm ready. I'm fired up to talk some Marlins. But, today didn't exactly go so well. Yesterday, I felt like it was a good game. Saw some good stuff from different players against the Astros, especially Peyton Burdick. He's been lighting it up recently. But today was a little bit different. What was the final score? Was it 7-2? I have to look at my phone. I saw the notification
7-2.
come across. It was 7-2. Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing on a lot of ends. Obviously, the defense is something to be concerned about, and we're definitely going to touch on that between Jazz and center. The middle infield. It's still early, but I feel like the cause for concern is just a touch warranted. And then I think maybe even the bigger concern is pitching depth, because you could start a guy like Rogers at the beginning of the game. It's no secret that Miami starters are excellent, but bullpen's been something we've been talking about. Pitching depth, again, it's early. These guys haven't seen game action in months, but why is it that the Red Sox are coming out and scoring 7 runs? Why is it the Cardinals are coming out and scoring 5 runs? Stuff like that. So again, it's early, but if you're panicking right now, I can't exactly blame you.
Yeah, exactly. So, what you mentioned with the offense, that's been a little sluggish to date, and you'd like to see that change. A lot was put into shoring up that part of the game, but people are finding their strings. People are trying stuff out. I've always kind of found it hard what to worry about and what to not early on in spring training. But Jazz again tonight with this game, another questionable throw out there from center that it was not the look you wanted to see. I believe he had a quote during the game that I saw on there on Twitter that the ball slipped from his hand and he was still trying to aim for the cutoff throw, but it sure looked like he just wildly missed the cutoff throw to my untrained eyes.
Yeah.
I thought he'd get him out at the plate. But so you like to see him do a little better there.
100%. And, it sounds like early on he's making excuses, but, if he were to come out and say, I'm still learning, this is going to take time, I feel like a lot more people would feel a little bit more comfortable about that. The fact that he's trying to hide some of this stuff isn't exactly encouraging. And then again, he's got a month to get this right. I don't think personally he's going to master the art of center field, one of the hardest positions in all of sports to learn within a month. But, there's a reason why he bowed out of the World Baseball Classic. There's a reason why he stepped into that role, because Jazz is an excellent leader, and he wants to show this. And he's got to make his money. He's got to prove his worth after being named cover athlete for MLB The Show. He wants an extension. He has to prove a lot of things this year, and taking on the added responsibility of playing in center field while he hasn't been able to stay healthy is it's something. I feel like it's a testament to his character, but I think more importantly, people just want to see him show up on the field. He's going to hit the ball. He's going to hit it. He's going to have a great slash line. He's going to drive in runs. He's going to get on base. We know that. But defense is a legitimate concern right now.
Agreed. Unfortunately, there's no difficulty slider to adjust in real life baseball. It's a process that he's going to have to put in to figure that out. The couple of things that were positive in tonight's game. There, did see a pretty strong start from Trevor Rogers. You mentioned the pitching depth behind our top starters is something we could touch on and be worried about. But Rogers had the changeup working for him tonight. 2 solid innings, 4 strikeouts, and there no earned runs across. It's pretty good, and that's one of the things that I know I'm going to be looking for the most this spring. And if I were to make my list, and I did. Things I'm going to look for the most here would be, Trevor's efficiency, Trevor's location, seeing that some of those things that got him into trouble last season are in the process of being worked on. That's something I will put more stock in than I think some other spring training stats that you'll see. And then Avi Garcia with a big home run tonight. Mm-hmm. So That's
Yeah,
always
and
encouraging.
yeah, I mean, good for Avi. Slipped down. He's been working, and that was his first big knock of spring training. So I'm hoping for good things. We had this discussion amongst the Fish Stripers privately the other day: is who is the best player defensively in their like natural position that they're going to be playing this year with the Marlins. A lot of us said Avi in right field. So on the defensive side, while we talk about that too, expecting him to have a clean year out there. Maybe he'll be Miami's only Gold Glove finalist, because now that Rojas is gone, I don't know if they're gonna have any. So it'll be interesting to see there. But more on just what happened tonight. On Rogers' side, awesome to see. A lot of the early observations from people I've talked to have said that he looks more like his 2021 self. Like you would assume that this would have been his 2022. The way that it looks like he's made strides, and I think he got rid of a mental block that was in 2022. It was just a rough year for him. And my first series I covered was in Cincinnati, and that was when he got absolutely blasted. The Reds, I think, scored double-digit runs that game. I can't remember the exact final score, but I think it was like 10-1 or 10-2 or something like that. And Rogers got shellacked. And talking to him in the locker room after that, he was like visibly distraught. The next day, he's trying to just get back into it. You could tell that the guy was going through something. That's something that we often forget, is a lot of these guys are human. So that was something that was really cool to see, especially my first time, being around the team in that aspect. But, a lot of the people I've talked to that have been around the team since then, and those that are down there in Jupiter right now, it looks like Rogers really took a lot of time to himself this offseason, get some fine tuning done, just getting back to what he was and how, and the guy that should have won 2021 NL Rookie of the Year. And, everyone's saying Luzardo could be the number 2 starter. And, I think it's a fair assessment. But by the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if Rogers is the consensus second best starter on the Marlins. I mean, it's a good problem to have. We can argue who's going to be better between Luzardo, Rogers, Perez at the end of the season. Doesn't matter. That's a good problem.
As long as they're all good, right? As long as they're all being those above average starters, healthy starters.
Oh, yeah.
That we want to see. And that's, to me, that's Rogers is the key to the rotation. I agree completely. If maybe he can't get back to that 2021 level, but if he could split the difference, even, leaning a little bit towards 2021, if he could just be above average, then
I'd say you're going to see a 2021 or better version of Rogers this season. I feel like 2021 maybe just a little bit above what the floor could be. He's not going to be as bad as he was last year again. That's out the window. If he does, then he may not have a job after this year, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't want that to happen, obviously, but I really just don't foresee something like that happening. I think he'll be back to where he was in 2021. And you mentioned that he's really important, because in this rotation, it's kind of weird with just like how it's all spaced out. He's kind of the bridge to the back half and in the front half.
Right.
I would put him in that 3 spot. In the back half could be questionable this year, especially if injuries start happening. Cueto got destroyed on Sunday. A lot of people said he just straight up didn't look good, and he's going to be one of those guys that has a tough time adjusting to the pitch clock. But, everybody's going to have to find a way to adjust to that. And, you start getting guys injured, you're going to see guys like Braxton Garrett, who's awesome, but, guys who aren't quite as reliable as you would want to see. And, there's no guarantee that everyone stays healthy. So it's good to have Rogers to be that bridge in the middle of the week when, you got the Sandy start out of the way, you got the Luzardo start, you just won 2 games, 2-0 and 2-1. Now, all of a sudden, who do you have on that third day? Rogers has to be your guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And just mentioned with figuring out the pitch clock. So let's kind of just talk like what, and you can start. What matters to you this spring? Like, what are some of the things that you look for, and not even just specifically this spring training, but with so many times pitchers go into games in the spring and they just decide, I'm going to work on my changeup today, and I'm just going to throw that way more than I should, or batters are trying stuff out, and so some of the numbers could get skewed. People are warming up to velocity. If it's cold that day, people are going to throw, people throw slower time of year. So like, what do you look for really consistently in spring? And then maybe a couple of things you're specifically looking for from a few players on the team between now and March 30th.
I look for who plays best in the blue uniforms. That's what I look for. No, I'm kidding. That's good. They should be worn on Sundays. That's my opinion, but that could get its whole podcast episode. I guess somewhat on that note, because everyone talks about blue jersey Lewis Brinson, spring training Lewis Brinson. I've kind of stopped looking for just like general stuff, vague stuff, because of those past years where you kind of got tricked. Like Lewis Brinson or someone, Monte Harris, someone have an incredible spring, be like, oh, these guys are going to take the stride this year. They're going to take that next step forward.
I was going to bring Sweet Lou up if you didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that was back when I was more on the fan side. I wasn't with Fish Stripes yet. So as a fan, that was frustrating to watch. And, that kind of scarred me. So I kind of shied away from that. But specifically this spring, got to look at the defense. I mean, we keep saying it over and over again. But look, Kim made the moves this offseason to get a viable offense. I mean, it could still be better. There's still a couple holes that I feel like they could have plugged better, but it's manageable. And, I feel like this isn't an offense that's going to go out there and only get a run or two a night. I'm not going to sit there and fall asleep watching it like I did a couple times last year early in the season, especially in May. That was an abysmal month. But there are like legitimately exciting players in this lineup. The AL batting champion is in this lineup now. I mean, that's super exciting. Like, every single time I look at this roster, I say, we have Luis Arraez now, or the Marlins have Luis Arraez. It's crazy. So the offense is there. Starting pitching has been there for about half a decade now. So it's where do you go from there? And obviously defense is the question. That middle infield, almost the entire infield, I would say. You got a first baseman playing second base. You've got a second baseman playing third base. You've got probably a DH playing first base. I mean, I love Coop, but he's got to stay healthy. And then it's shortstop. I mean, I think Wendell's your best defensive player in that infield, but Joey Wendell.
I do too. I think people are sleeping on him at short.
Yeah. I think outside of Avi and Wright,
and I'm like, that's my least concern.
Yeah, I think Avi and Wright may be the best overall defensive player on the Marlins. Like, it's going to be playing their position this year, but I would say Wendell's probably second. But here's the problem with Wendell playing shortstop is he's not supposed to be an everyday shortstop. The Marlins traded for him from Tampa Bay when he was a utility player. He made the All-Star game as a utility player. He was played way too much last year. Wendell was brought in to not be an everyday guy. He could be a plug-and-play type guy. I would much rather see him platoon at third base with either Groshans or Segura or whatever. And like for Miami to have actually gotten a real shortstop. I mean, I was kind of over Miguel Rojas. I think the marriage needed to end, but let's say they had kept him. I think you're in a good spot defensively because you could play Segura at second, and then you could play Arraez at first. You could DH Cooper. You could afford to sit someone on the bench every single day. You kind of platoon, but now you're kind of in like a defensive. You're just in a weird spot defensively now, as to where you have everyone playing out of position. So I think the hope definitely should be that maybe Groshans could pick up more reps at shortstop, although I wouldn't bank on that. And I wouldn't bank on any of this happening, but maybe Frankie Amaya having a strong spring.
Okay.
I want Frankie Amaya to succeed so bad. I think he's a younger version of Rojas that has more pop. He hit, I think, 18 home runs in minor league baseball last year. This kid's a stud, and that was an excellent trade by the Marlins. I think overall, if you put the Luzardo Marte trade aside, I think that's the best trade Kim's ever made. Getting Rojas out for Amaya. I think it's an excellent trade. I know that's a lot for saying a 1-for-1 swap, but this kid could be really good with the correct development. And he's got the glove that Rojas has. He gets on base at about the same rate. It's just he has more pop, and he'll get the ball over the fence. So I don't know when we'll see him this year. I think he will be in the majors at some point this year. It's a matter of when. And, maybe at the end of the year, he could be the everyday shortstop, and maybe come 2024, he's your guy at short. But at the same time, you got to focus on right now. And right now you have a first baseman playing second base. You've got a utility player as your everyday shortstop. You've got a second baseman playing third base. You have a DH playing first base. That's not ideal in any aspect.
No. It's video game stuff. It's the video game approach, right?
Oh yeah, you're playing everyone out of position. Yeah, it's like playing Diamond Dynasty, and you've just got all of these random cards. You just want to stack all your best hitters in the lineup to face some of the crazy pitchers online. I don't play the show anymore, but that's how it was when I was growing up. But then what else I would look for is bullpen's huge, and they went outside the box a little bit to go get some arm pieces, and a lot of people wanted them to do more with the bullpen, but I've been saying this for a while now. I know Eli's been saying it for a while now. I think Isaac's even said it too. The majority of fish have been saying, the bullpen answers are within the organization. Again, this pitching depth is really talented. And I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the Marlins put together a viable rotation at some point in the next year or two with just arms from their minor league system. I'm ready for Soriano to come up. I think there's a lot of talent in there, but they just needed to get a few different pieces. And again, it's early, but I think seeing Skip manage through late game situations in the bullpen is going to be huge. The closer by committee type thing too. No established roles. I know Donnie did that last year, sort of, and it didn't really work. But I think it's just about getting guys a little bit more comfortable this year, ultimately, and that's what the goal should be. But early on, again, just getting those reps, getting loose again. It is the first week. I'm not taking too much from this week unless Jazz has an error every single game he plays this week. If that happens, then you got to take something away from that. But no, in all seriousness, I'm not taking that much away from this week. It's early, and then these guys, a lot of the bigger guys, are going to go to the World Baseball Classic, play under the old rules again with guys that aren't their actual teammates, and they're going to have to get it readjusted again. So
that's going to be
If the Marlins start slow, I wouldn't be surprised, but I also wouldn't hit the panic button. And then, maybe it's the reverse, because the last 2 years, the Marlins have started red hot. Or I guess the last 3 years, the Marlins have started red hot because they had the best record in baseball after they came back from COVID in 2020. So, they have gotten hot. They were 14-8 at the last day of April last year, and then they just folded in May. In 2021, they were a game under 500 at some point in May. Coop hit that walk-off against the Mets. Everyone was feeling good, and all of a sudden you got a Pittsburgh get swept, get absolutely beat down, and all of a sudden you feel like the season's over. And in 2020, obviously that went different ways, but that was a 60-game season where they played in front of a whopping total of 0 people in the stands. So yep. I would say that, if the Marlins do start slow, I would not panic whatsoever. There's a lot of kinks this year, nooks and crannies, and truthfully, we're still not going to see a normal warm-up to a baseball season until 2024, since 2019, because 2020, 2021, you had COVID. 2022, you had the lockout. This year, you have
the WBC,
bajillion rules and the WBC.
And rules.
I would say if the WBC adopted the new MLB rules, I don't think it would be that big of a deal. But for the cream of the crop, for your top guys in your league to go over and play the old rules just so they're getting used to your new rules and have to come back a week before the season starts and have to readjust again. How are you going to expect that out of your top guys? I mean, you've got Mike Trout going over there. You got Sandy Alcantara going over there. You got a lot of the world's best players that are in your league going over there. So there's just a lot going on, and I think it's going to affect the Marlins. I think it is, but at the end of the day, if the Marlins start slow, they're 4 or 5 games under 500, they'll panic. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and I also think that this team is going to do some of the necessary stuff around the deadline if they're in the spot to improve the roster. But again, that's so far down the road. I just looked at the bottom of my computer. It's just 228 on it. It is February, so you can't overthink.
Yeah, well, hopefully it all comes together for that to be pulled off. Other things I'm looking for. So I'm with you on bullpen usage, particularly with Puck. It's Puck's usage. If I were to single out a particular player that I really want to see, particularly since before he came over, there was some talk about him, still wanting to try to start. Now that's obviously with Oakland. That's not on the cards unless injury calamities strike left and right, for the Marlins right now. But it still has me kind of interested in what the vision is with him, what his usage is. Is he are his innings going to float? Are they going to kind of quickly shift to him? Just kind of doing the 8th and the 9th right away. So I'm really curious to see how he's used. The stats I think I would put the most stock in for hitters is going to be that final outfield battle. I want to kind of see what's happening with DLC. I want to see how Sanchez does this spring. I kind of want to see the race for the left fielder that's not Soler. When on the days that he's DHing, I want to see what those two can do. And so that I would be interested in following and hanging on pitch for pitch. A little bit with Avi, given how rough his season last year was. So, I mean, I'll confess to being excited about him hitting 400 so far this spring. That homer today, seeing him put together 2 hits in a game, that didn't happen very often last season. So it's nice to see that happening from the jump. And also I kind of want to see who the best actual center fielder is. So again, I'm still trust that Jazz can figure this out. It's a long spring, but in case it doesn't, I'm going to be paying a lot of attention this spring to see who the best in-house center fielder is. Who is the best camp for from that? Whether that's
I don't even know if there's an answer
DLC
within the organization.
whether there's some player that's not on everyone's radar, but who plays the best center and who does the best at the plate while doing so is something I'll be keeping track of until the answer becomes Jazz, which hopefully it will.
Yeah, I mean, Jazz isn't going to play center field every day, so you have to find someone to play there. And ideally, I don't think they want it to be Sanchez or De La Cruz. So, and again, Bruce said last week, we're not going to close the door on minor league deals, and they just signed what's his face, Richard Rodriguez.
Richard Rodriguez
today.
The big Richard jokes are back. Richard Rodriguez makes the pen.
Oh boy, another dick in the bullpen. They may not be done. I think center field is still something they need to look out for. And I don't think they're going to go trade for Reynolds, at least right now, maybe at the deadline, because if that reported offer about that, those numbers of him asking for that money from the Pirates is true, then I think the Marlins should throw everything they've got to go get him. But at the end of the day, I think Brian Reynolds is in Pittsburgh opening day, and even if they do trade for Reynolds at this point, I think they would still try and stick with Jazz in center and put Reynolds in left, because Reynolds in left's been working for Pittsburgh for however long that they've had him in that corner outfield spot now. So why switch from it?
Agreed. Do you think they add anyone? That's going to be the last, I guess, current baseball question I ask. Just going back to that soundbite from for last week, that the offseason might not be done on there. Do you think it is?
I don't know if they'll sign someone that will be a surefire opening day guy, but I think they'll add someone that can play center field on a minor league deal for sure. I think they will, probably within maybe the next week or two. It's not going to be a name that really stands out. You're just going to kind of be like, well, they signed this guy. But, it could be a guy that really makes an impact. If you want to look at former Marlins and how they've done this, some baseball memory stuck out for a long time for me was when the Reds signed Derek Dietrich to a minor league deal, and he was the hottest hitter on the planet for the first 3 months of the season. That was a lot of fun. I'm not saying anything like that's going to happen, but I'm also saying that, you just kind of be like, if they sign a guy like that, but you never know what kind of impact they'll make. So those minor league deals aren't a lot of money. These guys want to prove something so they can get more money and they can play on a major league roster, not have to go play in Jacksonville or play in Pensacola that year. I mean, these guys want to be in Miami.
Back in the show.
They got something to play for. But no, to answer your question, I think they will sign a guy on a minor league deal to center field before opening day. I think they will.
And anywhere else, were you saying that you see center field being the move? If they do sign someone else's offseason, or do you see them possibly adding another reliever, or does Yuli Gurriel accept that rumor
are you talking about 2024 offseason, or are you talking about the closeout this one?
Just between now, just over the next month, that
it's not going to be anyone big. It's not going to be a guaranteed deal. It's just going to be minor league, I think. I don't have anyone telling me this. This isn't sources, by the way. We don't do that anymore.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
I bring it up just to fuck with myself sometimes. So no, I don't have anyone telling me this. This is just based off logic and just watching how the Marlins operate. They're not allergic to this. Every team brings in guys on minor league deals, and the fact we've only seen one guy get brought in a minor league deal so far shows that they'll probably sign more. And I think one of those deals will be for a guy who is primarily a center fielder. I don't know who's out there. I couldn't give you a name off the top of my head. But I think they'll go for a guy who could play center field to bring into camp in case Jazz can't go.
Okay. No, I'd agree. I'm not expecting the doors to be blown off by any signing we see in the next month. But the only major news I could see happening, and I said this on last week's show as well, is that if there is a headline move left in the offseason, it's just going to be that Jazz extension. I know that maybe that's what Sherman was alluding to, was, locking up some of the existing players. So, hopefully that's
I think they want to get that done.
Maybe it's a Luzardo, but I think
they'll do Jazz before
Luzardo
for sure. You gotta lock in your moneymaker. You gotta lock in your star, and they've seen how well that this Sandy deal is working out for him right now. I don't even think Sandy's a top. I know for a fact he's not a top 10 highest paid pitcher in the league right now. He might not be top 15. He's arguably the best. So they've seen how that's worked out for him so far. I think they want to get more of these guys secured.
Be great to get another one of those deals. Well, all right, now we're gonna popular game. Are you ready to play Jeff or not Jeff?
Grant, Jeff or not Jeff? Are we gonna go over the rules?
We will go over the rules. So we're going to spin for a year. We're kind of treating this as the year of Jeff Conine. There, we have not officially retired his number yet, but he is back in the organization. So let me throw this very elaborate graphic on the screen here, and
can't wait to get killed in the Fish Stripes group chat tomorrow when I get one of these wrong. It's gonna be a good one.
So let's see where we end up with. So then, depending on the year, we're going to have you comparing stats from that season to Jeff and another player on the team. If you land on 2004, we'll spin again, because that was what we did last week. Okay,
97. That's a happy year.
So good vibes associated with this season for sure. Which means that this is an edition of Jeff or Chef. Whether this is Jeff Conine or Gary Sheffield that led the Marlins in this category for the year 1997. If you get the question right, you will see at Marlins Twitter's favorite graphic, Jeff Conine giving you the thumbs up.
Yes.
And if the answer was Sheffield, then we'll see Gary Sheffield making the play of the 1997 World Series, according to Bob Costas. Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, in 1997, who had more home runs for the Florida Marlins, Gary Sheffield or Jeff Conine?
I'm going to go with Gary Sheffield.
All right, and the answer is Gary Sheffield.
All right.
Right you are.
Here we go.
In 1997, who had more RBIs, Gary Sheffield or Jeff Conine?
A little bit trickier here. I'm going to actually go with Conine on this one.
Okay, and the answer is Gary Sheffield. Gary Sheffield had 71.
I'm still batting 500.
At 500, you're doing better than Jeremy Taché did in Rock, Paper, Scissors so far. But Sheffield had 71 RBI and John Conine had 61 that season. Okay, batting average. Who had the better batting average? Gary Sheffield or Jeff Conine in 1997?
I'm going to go, this is another tight one. I'm going to go with Conine. I'll roll with it until he shows up on my screen.
Okay. Fortunately, this was another Sheffield. Gary Sheffield hit 250.
He had quite the year 97, didn't he? Jeez.
This is one of Jeff's. Unfortunately, this is probably one of Conine's biggest off years. But
really?
But he won a World Series, so I'm sure he didn't mind.
Yeah.
In the end,
it would have helped for me to be alive this year, but
it is fair.
It happens. It happens.
All right. What about doubles? More doubles from Gary Sheffield or Jeff Conine in 97?
God, I feel like it's gonna bite me switching it up, but I'm gonna go Sheffield.
All right, and that is the right answer.
All right, there we go.
Gary Sheffield had 22. Jeff had 13. All right, and then lastly, and traditionally for the last one of this, I just find a really obscure category, unfortunately. For triples. And for all of these, I also have to find things that are
one
closer.
Probably got 3 and the other one probably got 2 or something like that. So this is really a toss-up here. I'm going to go Conine for this one.
Well, you're not wrong because they tied. So both. They each had 1 triple in 97.
1? Okay. I knew it was going to be some really low number.
Yes, absolutely. Right thinking there, and thank you for playing. Jeff or not Jeff.
Fun game.
Yeah, let's really hoping it takes off. All right, well, we're going to come to a close with tonight's reveal of the next name on the Marlins After Dark Marlins all-time top 30 list. And you'll see this written up in the listening audience on Call to the Pen tomorrow, which is what I have to do after this show. That's right, my rundown of number 29 in Marlins history. Again, an elaborate formula goes into this, considering their raw value with the franchise, any special awards they did they win a championship or not. Last week we had Livan Hernandez, helps greatly by that 1997 title and NLCS and World Series MVP. Number 29 on the list, though, is Ivan Rodriguez, coming in easily the best one-year payoff signing for a free agent in Marlins history. Signed him with that special money freed up by Jeffrey Loria in 2003. Led the entire team in WAR. Like, he was the best player on the roster, offensively, defensively, and was a huge part of that. In the postseason, had, I want to say, 16 hits. Am I right about that? No, actually, sorry. 22 hits. He had 22 hits that postseason. Got a hit in 16 to 17 games. The game he didn't get a hit in, he had a sacrifice fly for an RBI. So there's production all across the board, worth every penny. Any thoughts on Pudge Rodriguez as a player? Where, if you think he should be higher or lower?
I think you're gonna have some people say that he should be a little bit higher, but no, I mean, what a run he had. One of the better postseason runs in this century, I feel like. And I wish I was born just a little bit before to see it. That run, 2003. But yeah, Pudge, excellent player, deserves to be in the Hall. Great Marlin, great Ranger, and definitely one of the better catchers of all time for sure. Doesn't get enough appreciation.
Absolutely, and you did hit it on the head with the fact that I'm sure there will be definitely some backlash on not having a much higher, and that's just the tricky thing with these all-time lists. If it's just about being the best player, then 2 of the top 5 players in Marlins history are catchers that played less than a combined regular season with the team. Because we got to put Piazza on there too. Spoiler alert: right. Mike Piazza will not be making the Marlins top 30. And neither will their backup outfielder from 2015 to 2017, because Ichiro would be on the list too if it was just
right.
About
Yeah, you would have a guy like Stanton touching the top 5 in that aspect then.
No, so it's fun experiment, but with getting that 2003 title and just the strength of that season, feel confident putting Pudge at number 29. Well, Grant, thanks for coming on. Anything you'd like to promote before going? Anything coming up for Fish Stripes?
I don't know when we're going to do our next State of the Fish. I know that's slowly becoming a fan favorite to the people who come out to that. Thank you. I think we got a stream coming on Wednesday. I don't know who the guest is yet, but I know we've got one coming. We've always got podcasts coming out. I know a lot of your listeners are big Fish Stripes fans as well, so just keep an eye out on content and keep watching the Marlins. Spring's about to get crazy. And in exactly 1 week and 10 minutes, we will be ready to watch Cuba versus Holland. So get ready.
WBC, it's coming. All right. Well, for Marlins After Dark, I'm Sean Millerick, and thank you again to Grant for coming on, and we'll catch you next week. Go Fish.